Here's my hypo crystal female. This is a hypo super labyrinth, which gives us a crystal, the blue-eyed crystal, what we call the blue-eyed leucistic. She's actually putting some decent size on. We've been growing her up since she's a baby. She's a 21. What's up, snake fans? Dave Palumbo here for Muscle Serpents Daily. Today we're going to be looking at boas. Boas. We're going to be looking at some breeding action in the snake room. We're going to be seeing some cool stuff that I'm growing up and anything else that strikes my fancies. Only boas. Today is boa day at the facility. Stay tuned. All right, a little Burmese python action. It's my little girl, Ivory. This is a black-eyed leucistic. 2021 I produced her. This is the last litter I had as a breeder of Burmese pythons. Now in Florida we can't breed them anymore. She's actually finally starting to grow a little bit. Started boosting her food up a little bit. She's gorgeous, as you can see. Who doesn't want a white Burmese python? Just like who doesn't want a white boa, right? And you can see the difference between her and then her brother here. The brother here is not he's not leucistic. He is a hypo albino, which is a pearl, and he's green. Green is patternless. So he's got red eyes. So he's albino. He looks very similar. He's more yellowish than she is. You can see she's white. He's yellowish, but they definitely look alike. They definitely look a little bit alike. All right, once again, blowing some air. This is their big bluff. Burms like to blow air. I produced him in 19. Let's close him so he doesn't get out. And we'll go back to her here. Okay. She's a sweetheart. She's much calmer than him, but gotta love the Burms. And once again, I'm so happy that I have the ability to, she just shed actually, to keep these guys here in Florida. Obviously, we got to keep them in locked cages. We have to have certain warnings. We have to have a certain setup. And we get inspected every year, and that's fine because we get the privilege to have these gorgeous, gorgeous snakes. And because I don't breed them, they'll probably live for 30 years. Breeding is very stressful to animals. A lot of people don't realize that. Breeding will definitely cut down the lifespan of your animals. I mean, granted, yes, you get to produce more, but the animal itself is not going to, get stressed out, especially the females. Okay, good girl. All right, a little breeding action here in the boa room. It's a labyrinth, het sharp albino, female. I've been growing up since 20. She's, I don't know if she's actually being bred, but he's definitely riding on top of her. We're pretty close. This is our Aztec Motley Sharp Sunglow. So Aztec Motley Sharp Sunglow. Het for RDR black-eyed anery. So, we're going to get pos het black-eyed aneries. I'm not really worried about that. I'm really just going for the sharp labyrinths, or the sharp Aztec labyrinths would be great if we got those. So we'll see what happens. See if we get some breeding action here. I'd love to produce my first sharp albino labyrinth. That would really be cool. All right, this is a little trio. I've never done this before, but I'm breeding 2 females and a male because I only have 1 male. I actually have 4 female sisters, and I don't even know if they're even ready to breed. I mean, they're 4 years old, but they're a little on the smaller side. But I have 1 male and with 2 females. And I'm going to see if we produce anything. If not, we'll just have to wait till next year. But I figure, I only have 1 male, and this is like a triple-het to triple-het breeding. So I might as well hedge my bets a little bit and see if any of the male or females are responsive. And give it a shot here. This is a triple-het that's sterling, blood, and parahet. And I believe one of them is I think the male is a hypo too. So Will we produce some really cool sterlings? Well, we'll have to find out. All right, we got some sheds in here. This looks like the shed from the female. It was an onyx that's het for blood, het for Honduran T positive. And she's also het for anery 2. Being bred by, actually this might even be her son. He is a hypo Honduran T positive, so we call that a Honduran T positive sunglow. Onyx. And he's possible het blood. And that looks like a lock to me there. These are dwarf boas. And this took me a long time to grow this male up. Oh my God, did it take a long time. These super dwarf boas take really a long time. Look how small that male is. He's like 5 years old. I produced him 5 years ago. So hopefully we're gonna get some nice breeding action here. Get some nice babies from these guys. There's a little Dumeril boas action. Not really action. I'm not breeding them right now, but I got my female here. She's looking very beautiful. She's not ready to breed yet. She's a 21, but she probably takes another year or two. And we'll try to breed her, but she's very pretty. Blends really, really in well with the cocoa locks. And she's been eating well, so can't be happier. First pair of Dumerils I ever had. This is the girl, and that's my boy right there. He's doing really well too. So he's a little on the smaller side. He's actually a 22. He's a year younger than her, but he could probably breed this year if he had to. But he'll definitely be ready next year. The question is, will she be ready next year? Well, we're gonna try to start feeding her a little bit more. See if we can get her up to size. Here's my hypo crystal female. This is a hypo super labyrinth, which gives us a crystal, the blue-eyed crystal, what we call the blue-eyed leucistic. She's actually putting some decent size on. We've been growing her up since she's a baby. She's a 21. She's got a couple more years probably before she's breeding. Beautiful. Beautiful little girl. She, I noticed she had more pattern when she was a baby. And as she's gotten older, she's like lost some of the pattern. Some of the crystals, you know, have no pattern just because they have this 2 copies of the hypo gene in it and other stuff. This girl had some pattern, and it kind of disappeared as she got older. But she's doing well. All right, here's a nice pairing that I'm doing, repeating. I haven't repeated this for a couple years now. I don't know if they're locked yet, but they're definitely showing interest. These are triple hets. So they're het for Gilbert T positive, het for blood, het for leopard. And I never hit the triple recessive with these guys. So I gave the female off a year. So really she was bred 2 years later to something else. And then now we're at 6 years after the first breeding, and we're going to be breeding the triple het to triple het and see if we can try to hit that Gilbert T positive blood leopard, which would be incredible if we did. Female's a lot bigger now, male's more mature. I mean, they bred the first time, we just didn't hit the odds, you know, and so I'm hoping we're gonna hit it this time. And there's our little male, there's our female. Now they're also 25% het, well not 25%, they actually have 25% Hog Island blood in them, so they're lighter than, you know, a typical, you know, just triple het would be, because they have that Hog Island. We know the Hog Island blood lightens things up a lot as well. That's why a lot of the babies come out really light as well. So it'll be interesting to see what we get. And we'll wrap up today with one of my favorite snakes. I showed this to you guys, this little girl to you all the time, but she's just so exquisite looking. You would think she's IMG if you're just looking at it. If I didn't tell you, you'd be like, oh, this must be one of your IMGs. She just shed. You can see she's sitting on top of her shed right here. This is an Inca Onyx. So it's Inca is an incomplete dominant. Onyx we know is incomplete dominant. The super onyx form is like, you know, a pad, almost like a patternless dark snake. And then we have, this is double het for both the Nicaraguan T positive and the Honduran T positive. There are 2 different T positives that are not compatible with each other. So luckily we have some males that are double hets too. will eventually breed to this female. But she is, I mean, seriously, she looks IMG. She's been getting darker and darker. Look at that contrast. That is a very high contrast snake, if I've ever seen one. It's one of the nicest combinations I produced, and these are dwarfs. Inca's dwarf, Onyx is dwarf, and I can't wait till she's only a 21. We probably have another 2 years before she's going to breed, because these super dwarf boas take a long time, especially the females, before they're ready to go. But I produced her. I'm willing to wait. She's just that gorgeous. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today here at Palumbo's Pythons and Boas. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I know all the boa guys out there are always asking me for more boa stuff, more breeding stuff. Well, we're in the midst of the breeding season. We're getting locks. We're getting a lot of action here. It excites me to know that the boas are doing well and that we're getting some good breeding action. You know, some of the, I guess you could say, finger crossing boa breedings are showing promise, and some of them are not, but that's the way it goes. You don't always catch the boas breeding either. So sometimes they're under a hide box. Don't get frustrated. It's a long season, and the best you can do is just keep those temps down a little bit now. Let it cool them a little bit. Don't feed them so much. If you see a snake getting maybe a little too skinny, give it a little extra, a small meal. But by and far, I try not to feed the boas for the 8 weeks during the breeding season, and then I start slowly ramping up their food again. You don't want them going into a shed cycle when they're in the middle of breeding, because if they're going to go into a shed cycle, they're not going to want to breed. I know my friend Tom Regan used to tell me that all the time about Burmese pythons. He would never feed them for 6 to 8 weeks because he didn't want them to go into a shed cycle, because Burms have really long shed cycles, and that could sometimes interrupt the breeding season, or the breeding process. All right, guys, if you're enjoying these videos, show us the love, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, hit that like button. I'll see you back tomorrow morning.